We're fortunate at EF to have a chance to work together with our colleagues for quite a number of years. I think here in Tokyo, our average for a sales position is somewhere around 5 years. If you've had the pleasure of working with someone for that length of time and you've tackled some difficult challenges and had some fun, had some laughs, and they decide for their own reasons that they want to graduate from the team, leave the business, my honest feeling is good for you. I don't think that any company owns its people. I think we have the good fortune to attract and keep good colleagues with us for, as I said, a number of years. But I think you don't own your people, so you hope that they will feel engaged enough to stay. You hope that they will keep learning and keep growing within your business. But I think if you look at most people's career paths now, it's very, very unlikely that people will stay in the same company for life. So my honest reaction is good for you. And we're glad that we've had the benefit of your time and your energy and your presence for the years that you have. I think the reason for that is one thing. At the start of a new job, or when you're looking for good new people, it's very easy to present a smooth, attractive, bubbly, exciting face. For anybody who's been in a job, or more than one job, you probably already know that actually the real test is, how do you feel at the end of your time with the company? Do you still want to keep in touch with your colleagues, or maybe with your line manager or your boss? And do you have something good to say about the company when you finish? And we capture graduate videos from the team here in Asia because we want to capture that real feeling at the exit point, when we think it actually shows the most about who we are as a company, who we are as people, and most importantly, how much we value our colleagues and wish them well on the road ahead. Harry, Vincent, welcome. We're at the end of an exciting journey. Just to start off with, if I share my impressions of your time at EF together, you have a very strong doki kanke, a very strong relationship as colleagues that has been a big part of your contribution to the team and also building your success during the past 4 years at EF. Can I ask you to talk a little bit about that? How did it begin? What are your reflections on what you've experienced together and what you've built together? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that because it's something that stands out for me.
Yeah, of course. I remember the first day we met, Vincent. So it's like, okay, nice to meet you. Vincent, you are my doki. And I thought, oh my God, he's not Japanese. Because I'm not very used to speak in English, I was already very nervous to have a doki like him. But after maybe 1 month, we started the same struggles. For example, we tried to make cold calls and we couldn't have enough numbers of the meetings for the week. And we started practicing how to make the cold calls, how to make emails together. And then we shared the struggle that made the relationship, friendship stronger, I think.
When you got past your basic training period and you had a fairly legendary boss who had set very high standards himself, Eddie, and expected high standards in return, right? If you cast your minds back, well, I guess it's 3 years and 9 months ago, to when you passed probation and you started to gather speed, is there one moment when you thought, yatta, I've got this now?
So something that really stuck in my mind was, so in Hult EF, there's something that is called a boot camp. So everybody that joins the company at some point is sent to boot camp. So to acquire the basic skills and sometimes advanced skills as well, to be able to properly give good consultations to clients, etc. And obviously you need to have several months of just getting in the company, getting trained first locally so that you can get this global training afterwards. And I remember that it was kind of the first achievement that I felt we made as a team with Eddie, because we went together in London, took the same flight, we had things to prepare together as well, and it really felt like, okay, we have unlocked the next stage of our EF journey by being sent to bootcamp. And so it really feels like every time in Hult EF where something kind of felt it was over, there was something new coming up. So now you're done with your local training and your local onboarding. Now we're stepping up and you're going globally to be trained with the headquarters and making friends along the way, etc. So to me, that was the key moment where, okay, I've been entrusted to go to this place and acquire those skills and bring them back to Japan and then thrive in the company afterwards. So yeah, to me, that was the key moment.
I think that's fantastic. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Eri, you mentioned at the beginning of this discussion that, you know, your first reaction when you knew that your doki, your colleague, was going to be non-Japanese, you were like, wow, how will I deal with this? If you take that idea to boot camp and you think about your experience there, what are the things that you would say are you can only get by going to boot camp? So we have obviously a strong team in Japan, and we have a way of doing things in Japan. But what are the things that you think you can only get if you go outside of Japan to a global boot camp and bring them back? What are the things that are in your mind?
One thing is cultural understanding about others as well as about myself and my country. In Japan, we tend to listen a lot, but we also need to know this might be rare in the business situation. So you need to be more talkative, or you need to try to be open or showing, expressing your emotion or your ideas, and be more flexible so that you make your own opinion, and that's allowed. And in many cases, it's not allowed in our business situations in my past. So it's like, okay, change that idea to the different one.
Do you want to share a little bit about your feelings around the TPC, as we call it, and what you learned through being members? Because very few people make it into that club of elite sellers. And I think it's definitely something I'd love to hear your thoughts on.
I think all of these people have in common, and it's not about, you know, oh, they have the highest sales skills, or they're working harder, etc. Well, they're working smarter, first of all, but they're all very curious people. So all of these people are asking a lot of questions all the time, and they're interested. They're not asking questions randomly. They're really there is a goal to whatever they're doing. They're optimizing their time and their effort. And so it really comes from the curiosity that they have. And I think this is something we both also have in common. And this is not something that you either have or don't have. It's something that you can work on. And are you interested enough? Do you care about whether your client or potential client solve their problem, for example? And if you care, you will be curious. And so this, to me, is just a straight highway to the President's Club, in my opinion.
On the TPC, though, obviously the focus on being a superb seller is one thing, but you also, both of you, have been on a number of really fantastic trips with the TPC, of which I'm incredibly jealous. Obviously, the reward aspect of having an amazing trip and getting some special time for yourselves is of course fantastic. Is there anything else that you both learned from those TPC travel experiences?
So to me, that was something, and I always wanted to go to Africa as well. And so the opportunity to go to Kigali in Rwanda, where EF actually has one of the best offices, in my opinion, is really great. But another thing that, if I'm a little bit more selfish, what I took away from is really also the opportunity, because it's called the President's Club, you get to travel with the president of the company. So I don't think it's very common to have the opportunity to just have a one-on-one discussion with the president of your own company, and that president actually giving you the time and the opportunity to ask questions. And to me, it really made me feel closer to what management means. And so we can then share either opinions about how the business is done, and something that is very common in EF as well is that everybody is very open again for feedback, for listening to each other, etc. So you don't really feel the difference in seniority with someone when you travel with the president of the company. So it's really I've had most of the most meaningful conversations in business when traveling with the president of the company.
Yeah.
So to me, that was something that really blew my mind because I've never done it before.
Question from a different angle now. We obviously have some very passionately held core values in EF. There are 7 of them. Which core value do you, and I'll ask you individually, identify with most strongly? And you know that mine is passion.
I mean, I think we all identify with all of them on different levels, but to me the one that strikes the most, and in my case, it's because I've worked for more than 10 years in Japan, and you have to develop that skill if you want to be successful in Japan, is attention to detail. So that can be understood in many ways. So as I mentioned earlier, are you paying attention to what's happening in a room, for example? Are you paying attention to the words you're using in an email? Because using one word can make a difference sometimes with going forward or avoiding a misunderstanding, etc. Attention to detail on, am I aware of all these numbers I have in front of me, right? Is there something off, etc. And so it's a little bit linked with the analytical ability in a sense, but to me, really paying attention to what's around you and in front of you is definitely something that I relate a lot. Yeah.
My case is entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes.
It's something that makes you anyone as EF, because I can be the president of EF, I can be the accountant or CXO of anything that have a broad view of the organization. For example, as a salesperson, I still get salary if I don't close this deal or if I break this promise towards you, but the company doesn't receive money if I don't close it. So what would you make the action as EF? And also, because I love my clients so much, what does this company do if I'm this company? So it's like you are standing as anyone as EF. This is my core value, I think.
I like that. I think you said it really well, but it's, if this was my business, what would I do mentality. I think it's also very empowering for you as an individual, because you hopefully that leads you to make your own decisions and to defend things that you think are the right path, because there's always a discussion within any business. I think moving on a little bit more, I think it's good to touch on both of your career journeys. Vincent, you obviously both of you started as key account managers, joined the TPC as elite sellers. In your case, Vincent, you also moved on to manage a team as a regional sales director, and in Eri's case, you decided to take your career development outside of Japan, and you were a member of the worldwide sales team, who are headquartered in London. So you were commuting between Hamamatsu and Chelsea. Can I ask, what led you to make those steps?
In my case, I didn't accept the offer, but it's more like I tried to make the offer in the company, because first of all I thought, I want to go to the specialist path rather than generalist, because in EF you can do it. And I love my company because there are choices that you can think with your strengths. And I thought, okay, I will be using my strengths better with this specialist path. That's why I decided to tell Steve and other people that, okay, I'm not going into the generalist path. I'm going to be the project manager, or I will be sales manager. And then decided to go into that way. And before that, I started as a key account manager, as you said, and I went into TPC. That made me the account director. And after that, the offer came to work in London, which is EF's global headquarters. And I first thought, can I do it? And I can't because I haven't done it before. And after that, I asked my grandmother, who is 91, and said, I don't think I can do it. So I will stay in Tokyo, and she was really mad at me. And she said, I'm making challenge and you don't make a challenge and make it for me. That makes my life 10 years longer. And I thought, okay, I need to try. And I need to find a reason why I do it, because this is really important for me to set a goal. And I thought, by the way, having somebody in Shizuoka prefecture going into London with a plane for the commute, I've never heard of that kind of person, which is crazy, definitely. And okay, should I do it? And I started to ask EF that, could you pay for my flight to London? And then somehow EF was crazy enough to say yes for my idea. So that made it happen.
Absolutely. I think you probably were able to strike your bargain there because it wasn't every week. I think if it had been every week, you might have got a different answer. But I think that's so exciting though, that you came up with that concept. I think it's very cool indeed. Thank you for sharing. What feedback would you give to me about what is needed to help us keep the things that we love, maybe put aside the things that don't help us anymore as we've grown bigger, maybe things at the start don't play the same role as they did, and equally so, what would you recommend that I add to the mix to make us, to keep us on this track of, positivity and growth?
To allow people to, even though be aware of rules we may have. So there are rules in any companies about how we're supposed to do things, processes we need to follow, etc. But I think you show that you entrust people with the ability to say, well, actually I want to break that rule. Because if I break this rule, I will be able to make the client even more satisfied. I will be able to do a better job and to just find a win-win-win situation by not following what we've always done in the company or by whatever manual has been written. So I think the way that you give people the trust that, sure, there are things we should do, but they're not set in stone. You can do the things your own way, or you can just break the whole thing and find a path to whatever will give you and EF success.
Thank you. So what I've written on my hand is all of the things that got me into trouble at school have been useful at EF.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's
That's a good summary.
Thank you, Vincent. Eric, what about from your perspective?
So I think you have genius ideas to be flexible and to give us space to break the rules. That are the big things that I learned from you. And also you are open to feedbacks. For example, one day you and I went to a client meeting for the first time, and you gave me a feedback that I didn't handle the meeting very well. And I also tried to tell you that, you know what, you talked to me very nicely, but I don't understand most of what you say because your English is too difficult for me. And I'm EF level 11 and I'm learning so much in English life. So you also make effort for me that I also make an effort for you. And you looked a bit shocked in the beginning, but you also said, yeah, you are right. I will use easier words in the meetings. And you actually did it for the last 4 years for us. So it's like amazing thing.
Thank you, Eric. I'm just putting that away. I'm going to write down some talk less. Okay. One of the things that I think is really stands out for me in terms of working with you, Vincent, and working with you, Eric, is that in your case, Vincent, you're working daily in 2 languages which aren't your mother tongue, which is pretty amazing. And the same for you, Eri. You've, shaken yourself out of what could have very easily been a very good professional mode as a Japanese professional, but you've always challenged to sort of broaden yourself and to do that. EF obviously is majority now that we're adding, and when we say EF, we mean Hult EF, the corporate education part of the business. We're growing 25 to 40% a year in terms of numbers of people as we discover new things that we can help with. And the majority of those people may be in a similar situation to you. What advice would you give them in terms of enabling themselves to stand tall in what could be seen as an English dominant organisation?
I think that something that is often misunderstood in terms of what is a global organization, what is globalization, etc., is that there's one way that, this is the global way. But there are many different areas in the world, many companies, many markets that have been and still are very successful. So wherever you come from, wherever your background or whatever country, whatever company, etc. you come from, there are things that other people can learn. And if I take the example of, let's say, the Japanese way of doing business, sure, there is a tendency that maybe people might be speaking less than their European counterparts, but that also means that people are listening more, and this is also a valuable skill.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that being global means talking a lot. It just means that we need to have the skills to communicate with each other, and it means that, sure, maybe as a Japanese professional or someone like me who has worked a lot in Japan and now has a Japanese way of doing business, you need to make the effort to output more, to participate more in the conversation. That's your responsibility in a global environment. But likewise, people that maybe have a tendency to talk a little bit more should also make the effort to listen more.
Yeah.
So again, to find a middle ground, and this is how you make truly successful global projects or global collaborations, I think.
Yeah, I like that. So make sure that it's two-way traffic.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Very true. I also started to think once I joined WST in the global headquarters of EF that, okay, people say that we are the global organization, but why is everyone blonde? Why nobody is like me having Asian face and Asian accent? And I thought, okay, everyone is local. That makes us a global organization. So I don't need to be worried about bad accent, or I don't need to be worried about having a different skill set that I learned in Japanese business. But it's more like try to understand others as well as trying to tell others what I have, who I am. So one day actually in TPC trip in Bali in Indonesia 2 years ago, one person talked to me and said, Eli, you used to be so quiet, but now you talk a lot and you are such a global talent now. And I went back to my room and I thought, oh, should I be happy or should I didn't know how I should feel about the comment that I received from the TPC friend. So next morning I woke up and went to her and I said, look, I need to tell you that I am already a global talent, but the way who I am is different from who you are. We tend to listen to other people more than talking about self and try to digest what this means and then make comment. This is how I do, and because you are my friend in this company, I want you to know me. And she appreciated that I told her my honest comment. So this is how we mutually understand each other and we become truly global talents.
I like that. I think we've come full circle back to communication again, but I do think it is not the only solution, but it's certainly a very broadly applicable solution to a lot of situations. Thank you both. Obviously, you're now moving on to other things, which I'm really genuinely excited for you both, because I know that you'll be very successful. But congratulations on graduating from Hult EF and 卒業おめでとうございます。
Thank you very much.
ありがとうございます。Thank you very much.